You are listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Radio Free Larry.
All right, here we are. Here we go. Here we are. Hopefully the volume is matching that intro. It's very difficult because depending on how much bass and treble you have, I'll sound different in each one of these things. You might hear some strange sounds around me speaking. That's because I have a noise gate working and I have my AC on. I need my AC on in my hunker down chamber here. If I don't, it gets pretty nasty in here. This is not a new structure. There's all sorts of things going on in here that have been here for decades, I'm sure. So, remember, never be violent, never break laws. No matter what I say, no matter how horrible it is, no matter how angry you get, be peaceful, stay peaceful. They want you to be violent so they can become more powerful as the beast. And that type of power is known as anti-power. They are the opposite of everything that is good. They are evil. They have a likeness of law enforcement, a likeness of intelligence, a likeness of government, a likeness of church, a likeness of temple, a likeness of Judaism, a likeness of so on and so forth, but yet are not it. They are anti. They use psychology to cause harm, even when they say they're just simply watching somebody's reactions. It's based upon a psychological torture and a psychological warfare program, combat techniques designed to kill. And that's how they took control of the nation. You're not in a free nation. If they say you don't go there, then you don't go there. Everything that's well for you will be reversed into unwellness. Everything that is good will be reversed into evil, because that's who they are. They are Satan. They are the Antichrist, and they are part of the beast. One day the beast will be here physically in the son of perdition. They are one with Satan. As Jesus said he was one with the Father, Rabbi Jesus said that he was one with the Father, and he was in the Father, and the Father is in him. That is true about the deep state, shadow government, criminal enterprise employees, and private sector people that are with them. You can look at an organization of light. Any law enforcement, private, nonprofit can do good, but that same nonprofit can do evil. Any private citizen can help law enforcement for good, but any private citizen can help law enforcement for evil. I guess we would call that anti-help. So again, these are very trying times. There's no way that the shutdown didn't accomplish what it needed to accomplish. There's no way that you can attribute every death from COVID-19 circumstance to the shutdown. That's what they're trying to do. They're taking the data and using it for propaganda, and it actually hurts President Trump. They have a plan just to focus it on Fauci, or Fauci, whatever you call them, and Birx and those people. But it will hurt President Trump because people are angry. Look at the number of people that wanted more protection than they got. And I've already said that there's no way to have gotten more protection. Fauci said there's no way to have gotten more protection because government doesn't work that way. Nobody's been through this before. Now, if this happens next January with something else, let's say another one came, COVID-20, you would be protected better because now President Trump and his people and the private sector, we all pulled together and we came up with a plan that works. Would we need to shut down? Well, that's case by case. What if the thing killed you in 30 seconds? You would have to shut down, wouldn't you? But then again, of course, it couldn't spread, I guess. Well, I guess if it incubated for 2 weeks and then killed you in 30 seconds after 2 weeks or something. But so there are reasons that we would engage in a shutdown again if the thing was more dangerous than what we're seeing. We knew we could be healed to a certain degree of COVID-19. And at first, I think everybody believed if you were healthy, you would be okay. Well, that's not true, and it's still not true. And there are things going on within COVID-19 world to make every infection not the same. But yet, when it started, the majority of the infections were more serious. I mean, we're even to the point that we're realizing that people that are coming up positive for COVID-19 might not even have it. They might just have remnants of RNA. So it requires deeper testing. So again, people will commit suicide under stressful events. COVID-19 itself is enough to cause suicide. So you can't attribute every suicide to COVID-19. You just can't do it. And that's what you're trying to do. Economic downturn had already started. Most people aren't shopping. It's not that the store isn't open, that the restaurants aren't open. People are just not going to do it until that moment that they are safe. So that was going to come anyway. There was going to be economic downturn, but there would have been this feeling of non-protection. Now they've created an army of people that you can watch driving around in vehicles and going to beaches, but that's not everybody. They actually say that's a minority, a very small minority. 80% of people are looking for more protection. So again, that's a form of propaganda. That's a form of communism. You're trying to say you're freeing people, but you're putting them in a place they shouldn't be. The Bible says that we're to obey government when we believe it's right. You also are charged with protecting the people that are in your community, your spiritual community, your church. It is not protecting them to fully open your church. If the Lord lays that upon your heart, then go to it, if that's what you believe. I don't believe the government has a right to restrict church, but I do believe that some people shouldn't be in the pulpit, that's for sure. We have churches out there today that have people that have gotten sick. And of course, in Christian way, they go, oh, Lord saved me, I made it through. I took that person home. Oh, it was their time. You know, you're going to cover it up with Christian propaganda. But biblical scripture speaks about Passover, speaks about other people in similar situations. Rabbi Shimon, a famous Jewish rabbi, he was in a cave for years on end. That's where he had to live. And the Lord put him there. And then he came out, and the Lord said, get back in there. What are you doing out here? Or a voice said it. Somehow it was the Lord, I'm sure. They went back in. Oh, we got to go back in the cave. So again, I've only learned of Rabbi Shimon. I've known about Rambam for years, but I've only learned about Rabbi Shimon recently. And that was probably the last couple of years, maybe even the last year. Last year, probably. So again, there were signs that this cave was going to be imminent. The problem is you all think Christianity is Burger King and you have it your way, while you cause everyone else to have it Satan's way by moving your will, your evil imagination, your Munchausen by proxy Christianity. People have to fall for you to feel okay. And that's to the point that you're working with FBI and CIA and others to do such things under the color of law and outside the color of law. There's also, as I've explained, communication from entities such as NSA, if not NSA, that will send coded messages in differing areas of the internet, including emails. And then that also includes spiritual possession and inference to get somebody to do something to somebody in the community. And there's a voluminous amount of information, trillion-dollar technology, psychological warfare, psychological torture, cyber warfare. They, in those places, private sector and government, know exactly how to manipulate you to do that. And of course, they're speaking about the bots now, speaking about COVID-19. I believe talking heads and the influencers are part of being manipulated by those bots into unprotecting the nation. Now, there's some question as to whether the statistics are correct based upon maybe an incorrect count procedure. But I think here in Smith County and a couple areas that I've seen, they're focusing heavy on active cases, and that's very important. And I know I brought that up. And it seemed to steer in that direction once I said it. But that's what's important, because we have to know where we are. How are we healing? How are we staying alive? How are the cases, being recovered, and what's actively going on at this moment? When we see that number start diminishing, then we're really doing well. We see it increasing, then we go, oh, here it comes. How high is it going to go? And we get it to diminish again. Well, I think, quite honestly, it's playing out that a lot of people felt that they needed to unprotect themselves because of being influenced. And they did, and a lot of people got sick, and we had a few extra deaths from that. And whatever that number is, it is. But I'll tell you right now, the shutdown did work. It did work. Economic mayhem was coming. We would have had looting. We would have had all sorts of craziness if we had not made the people feel like something was happening. And the market's actually kind of settled down within some of it. It's pretty volatile, but it's still settled down better than it was. You couldn't save the market just by sitting around saying everything was wonderful. So again, the shutdown was required. I think the president is believing that maybe it was too much. It wasn't. Usually what you're doing is you're being blinded to what you saw before. Something was going to happen. Based upon what happened in New York would have been worse to begin with. And then everybody else would have been the same but worse. Because it would have picked up that fast everywhere else. So we did protect ourselves. We did minimize it. It did have time to mutate into some weaker strains. Now, the question is, if you get one weaker strain, will it protect you from another weaker strain? If you get one weaker strain, will it protect you from a stronger strain? Will your body be more primed to see it? In other words, how far can COVID-19 work into your body before you see it, before your body sees it and starts acting on it? So if you have antibodies already, does that give your body a head start on COVID-19, regardless of what it is? And coronavirus in general. How does coronavirus affect coronavirus? How does our body respond to the average coronavirus? And once it responds and creates antibodies, of course, do those antibodies help our body become more intelligent against coronavirus and other such COVID-19 viruses? Again, there's a lot to learn. We've learned a lot. Doctors themselves have said, hey, I can now save an additional 25% of my patients because I learned to look for these signs. We didn't have that. So a lot of the people that contracted the COVID-19 and received certain protocols in late March would not have received that in February if they caught it in February. Plus, we would have overwhelmed our medical system. It would have overwhelmed it. It just would have done it. That's another problem that you don't understand because you've never been put in those predicaments. When you go to combat, if you're thinking through it, because there's people in combat that don't have a clue either, but if you think through combat, what happens is there's this point of no return when you lose the, dress right dress, when you lose the operation, when you're all of a sudden in the panic mode, in the mayhem mode, and you no longer control the operation begins to control you, and then you're lost. So again, we knew what we were doing. We did it right. Don't doubt. That's the biggest satanic operation that the devil's engaged in, is to make you doubt what you did. It's a form of possession of the mind. And they're up. They're up. There's a lot in your mind. Realize today you have an increased level of satanic possession attacking your brain. Just tell yourself that, because that's what COVID-19 is, a legion of demons that also bring a antichrist presence, that also bring a metaphysical presence. So around you today is that happening. Now, I want to show you something about these people, these deep staters, and their private sector, government, their military, their your mother, their whoever they are. And some of it is possession. You'll find people that take on a form of the deep state, but yet they're just possessed people doing possessed things. And then the deep state will sometimes psychologically operate them to get them to do it along with it. So they watch, and if they can get somebody to do it with just spelling them and cursing and all of that stuff, then that's where they let it be. But sometimes you have to come around and physically manipulate lives. All right, it says here in Luke 22:37, King James Version, "For I say unto you that this that is written must yet be accomplished in me." Luke 22:37, King James Version. "For I say unto you that this that is written must yet be accomplished in me. And he was reckoned among the transgressors, for the things concerning me have an end." Now, little thing there. Things concerning Jesus have an end. He told you that. I go to the Father, now you're on, you got things to do. So not that you lose focus on Jesus, but Rabbi Jesus has a tradition of rabbinical ascension. You know, you move into the next level of operation, and he moves away. So again, Jesus was a rabbi, so you have to understand rabbinical history, real rabbinical history, to understand what perspective he was operating in. But also, deep state. He was reckoned among the transgressors. Again, deep state psychology. That psychology is criminal psychology. Over there, that person did this crime, and you're in danger because that person is exhibiting that psychology. Do you understand? And that's what's happening in your brain when they even speak to you like this. And you're being panicked because they're devils, demons, antichrists, witches, and sorcerers. You see, it's there. Because a transgressor does something, you have to do something to that person. Because that's the psychology. Oh, there's that sound. Hit yourself in the head. Don't. So again, that's what they're doing. They're trying to reckon everybody with the transgressors. So they have the transgressors who are possessed by them anyway to cause a crime. They create mass shooters. There is a psychological warfare program out there that will create mass shooters. And it has been used. I'm not telling you it's every mass shooter. It was used on the tear up Texas people. If they could have hid from being there, they would have. But they believed that they had to come clean for some reason. And that might be that other agents knew that they couldn't trust. To be corrupt, that is. Sounds good.
You can't trust that guy. Let's get rid of him. We can't trust that girl. We got to get rid of her. We can't trust her. She's a piece of... Yeah, she's right. Right.
I mean, they're just the most ignorant pieces of Antichrist garbage that have ever occupied government positions. Understand that. So again, that system has been around since they killed Jesus, reckoning people as if they're the transgressor. That person's dangerous. You could go off at any minute and we're not safe. And because that guy over there did it, they have the same psychology. Might or might not have the same psychology. And then if that person does have the same psychology, did the FBI, CIA, Kroll, Fusion GPS, Black Box, Mossad, MI5, if you think you can trust any of them, you're nuts, all of you. You can only trust them as far as you know what they're doing. That's it. They're garbage. They've gone over to the dark side. They're antichrists. And they'll be dealt with by God. So again, They can put that psychology in someone's life or put something like that psychology in someone's life by using anti-clinical science, anti-clinical psychology. They know, again, and they do that medically too, they know if they can break your medical response system to keep you healthy, that they can cause you to be sick. They know that because science tells them this has to happen or you're going to get sick. Psychology says if this happens to a person long enough, then they're going to get psychologically sick, either temporary or permanently. But the longer you do it, the more permanent damage there'll be. They know all this. They watch people. That's what they do when they watch. They're the perverted peepers of the internet. They're the perverted peepers of your community. They got cameras. They put cameras up in a second, man. They got a micro camera they can put on top of a telephone pole and watch you all day and look like the telephone company putting it up there. And they're supposed to use it for real work, not for their own little perverted crime sprees of sexualization, radicalization, homosexualization, antichristization. Bastardization is who they are. They're no United States of America. They're no heroes even when they engage in an activity that saves a life, because they're the reason lives are being lost. They're the reason that COVID-19 is here. They set China in motion. That President Trump had to pull the money out from China because all the government employee money was invested in China. I knew that for years. Their own personal bank accounts are the same thing. They invest in corruption. That's who they are. Now, is there somebody in government that doesn't do this? Of course. There's people everywhere. Robin Gritz was once in government. I was once in government. I didn't do this to people. That's why I'm a thug hugger. Because I wouldn't come in as an antichrist and cause you to fail, whether it be spiritually or physically. So that is what it is. But here's that whole mechanism. Reckoned among the transgressors. That's what they're doing to people. But always remember, 1 Peter 5:8, King James Version, be sober, be vigilant. 1 Peter 5:8, King James Version. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeketh whom he may devour. And even today, as that time approaches, he's got cameras out there. No, wait, it's lawful. It's lawful. We're investigating. You saw that. They got cameras out there everywhere. Now, should you be afraid of cameras? No. Cameras will save life. If you're an honest person, you should love cameras. But what's happened? Satan took over the cameras and sits on those cameras all day watching you. Dial into a retail outlet you walk into, Satan can watch you in a retail outlet. Now you see, they're very sick in the mind. They can't stop victimizing their victims. Satan tells them who to victimize. I'll tell you that. They got a direct line. Remember, they are in Satan and Satan is in them. Jesus said that he is in the Father and the Father is in him. But the deep state, the government employees, they are in Satan and Satan is in them. You know, if you watch some of the movies of the 70s, they were really good at this. Making everyday people, I bring up Rosemary's Baby. Everyday people that you would expect to be the nice lady next door, she's a devil witch, satanic worshiper. She'd kill somebody quicker than baking a cake for them. But would bake a cake just so she could kill somebody. That's what's in your government. They'll enforce laws just so they can kill somebody. It's not every cop. I'm not telling you to be angry and disobey lawful orders. But that's not the effectuation of what they're really doing. Because when it comes down to it, if it was 90 people that they had to kill, then it's 90. They're out there today watching how many people died from COVID-19 that were our victims. Oh, see how this is working for us? We got to get other people unprotected. That's how they are. They're the sickest of the sick. The evilest of the evil. And they're going to the hell of hells. There's a place in heaven for each and every one of us. Joy unspeakable is up there. But what they created is where they're going. And that's hell unspeakable. That's horror unspeakable. Pain unspeakable. That's what it was created for, not the simple sinner. Most simple sinners are blind. And when Rabbi Jesus was here, Rabbi Jesus did a work along with his other works by saying, if you are blind, your sins will not get held against you. Now, I'm sure he said it more than once, but he said it to the Sadducees and Pharisees. You know, are we blind? Oh, of course. They're not speaking about visibly blind. They're speaking about spiritually blind. And they were knowing that Jesus was this great seer that could see past where everybody else could see. And they wanted to crush that vision. They hated that light. So, you know, they were being facetious. And Jesus said, well, you should have told me you could see, because now your sins will get held against you. So when it comes to vision, it goes both ways. Sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's spiritual, but can usually be used in biblical teaching both ways. So again, be vigilant. So we did good, and it went well enough. But we're behind the eight ball because people continue to curse other people to COVID-19. People continue to curse other people to COVID-19. Now, it's not healthy to stay indoors as much as I am, as much as you are. We were made to be outside. My hope is June 19th, or not June 19th, well, it might be a date we need to look at, but June 1st. I'm hoping on June 1st that by June 1st, we'll see a reduction in cases that shows, extensive promise. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping to see that. But I'm up and running, and I'm ordering stuff to get my fit time on. I'm ordering some shorts and shirts and things like that will motivate me to spend some time walking somewhere. So what happened while my allergies flared up is I didn't have the medication online like I usually do before I go into the allergy season. So once my body freaks out, it takes a while to get back to normal. And what I usually do is I'll actually take Theraflu for like 5 days, one a night. And then my body just miraculously says, okay, now it's a little bit more normal. I don't have to freak out. For some reason, that has worked for decades upon decades as I've needed it. So that's probably what I needed to do once it started, before my body started rejecting the air I was breathing. Trying to remember what I was going to say. I was going to say something, and it kind of slipped away. I don't know if why doesn't Biden say that? I guess it would look bad for him. They're in here. They're cursing me. Again, if you're conservative, help bring up a point. If you're conservative antichrists are no better, because that's how Satan has been playing everyone. So politics has a time and a place, but you don't decide your biblical perspective based upon politics. So I've ordered a bunch of things to get my fitness time back on, to get back out into the world and focus on that. I remember what I said. What I was going to say now. I knew that would happen. I just had to get back to the discussion. They're peeking around in my head through their evil eyes. They have spiritual eyes that can see into your life. Sometimes with willful ignorance that they don't know what they're doing, but generally they know what they're doing. They don't, a lot of times when they operate, it's willful ignorance, so they don't want to know what they're doing. And Jesus, said they know not what they do. They don't know maybe the larger picture, but they know what they do. What they do is evil. They don't know the bigger picture. What I'm explaining is that next step. Jesus came here and said, they know not what they do, but yet I'm telling you what you're doing. See, so at a certain point, them not knowing what they're doing becomes them knowing what they're doing. And then that's where willful ignorance, if they say, oh, we're not doing that. It's a level of willful ignorance or a lie. So why wasn't I taking my medicine? Years ago, I went into a doctor sick, a couple doctors, and my blood pressure went up. And they said, well, you can't take Sudafed. You can't take any of those decongestants. It's too dangerous. Well, I finally went to a doctor and he said, even if your blood pressure was up, which it's not, he said, but even if your blood pressure was up, remember I was telling you about the white coat syndrome and also being sick at the same time, you're not going to feel well, your blood pressure is going to go up. But he said, even if that, he said, you have an athletic heart. There's nothing that's going to affect your heart at this point of your life. It's just, I mean, you don't want to have high blood pressure and keep it up, but there's no Sudafed in the world that's going to be a trouble for you. Because he did a full workup. He was doing EKG and all this other stuff. Because I had a shoulder pain, an arm pain, and a side of the head pain, and it was probably from allergies. Sometimes you get inflammation and it creates issue in your body like that, and then it goes away as quick as it comes, or quicker than it comes. So that was part of why I wasn't on it. And he finally said, well, yeah, no. He said, what'd you do, run all your life? I said, well, I ran. I used to run, and then I rode a bicycle. So he was pretty confident with my workup. So it's not something I want to stay on, but I needed it to get forward. And like I explained before, if 5 doctors say that, you can't overcome it. And I don't have money. Like if I had a lot of money in the bank, doctors probably couldn't cause my life to be stupid. But another doctor has to undo it. It had to be this doctor, but he's probably well respected and he's an older doctor. A hero. He's one of the heroes. The guy's, probably 70-something years old, and he's working in an emergency room during COVID-19. So it's a very courageous man. And a great help to the community. So now my body's starting to relax and not see the allergens as, I mean, it's still there, but it's not as bad. And I'm doing some things in here. For some reason, it just felt too cold until today. And again, spells, evil imagination, curses can cause us to have issues. I mean, it's satanic. I can see it. Things are not normal. Things are not moving without a satanic presence. So again, satanic presence is up. So I'm feeling all cold and I'm reducing my air conditioning, and then that brings additional indoor allergens. So, but now I think I've gotten somewhere at least with it. As far as staying in Tyler, Texas, I'd like to try to do that. However, maybe I just should move on, but maybe not. We'll see. I'm really thinking of traveling still. I wanted to get to that. But the problem is, I don't know if, the world we live in, how do you set up a homestead if you're traveling? Like if every month you're in a different place and you don't own property, how do you, how does a community address a person? Like if I, have something happen in Pennsylvania, and I'm a resident of Texas or Oklahoma or whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird. You have to keep moving. We should have like national driver's licenses. That's what we should have. But it requires some sort of residence, I guess. Our system's really not built for mobile people without a residence. I guess you would call me homeless, but I wouldn't be homeless. I would just be moving monthly and changing I could have a license from every state, I guess, by the end of 50 months, right? Oh, well. So I guess it's not easy, being biblical, where I would just, not worry about where I lay my head, just keep going. Because there's requirements, Jesus. We have to, get driver's licenses. I guess I'd be walking if I were Jesus, but I wouldn't get very far, probably. As soon as I got up on the interstate, they'd pull me over and tell me you can't walk on the interstate. So again, Ralphie Zacharias was here. I was sitting in my apartment doing things, and all of a sudden, this presence would touch me. And I'm like, whoa, is that Jesus? What's going on here? Like, who's here? Who's here? And eventually, as soon as, and he's here, because his voice kind of merged with mine for a second. And it's been doing that for about a day now. Maybe 2 days. However, as soon as I got the news online that he had passed, because I've connected with people that passed before, and some of them I actually went to their music or their videos online, before the news was put out to the community. As soon as the information came in, I knew who it was. And then I knew it couldn't just be Ravi. I'm like, something's with Ravi. That's what it is. I guess it's that guy that knocks. Rabbi Jesus was Ravi. But Rabbi Jesus is not about himself. All that you've done to worship Jesus, Jesus spends so much time saying, look, I moved on. Get over it. There's no problem with you doing that. But he doesn't want you to lose focus on the Father. And that's kind of what's happened. And if you believe they're one and the same, then that's fine. But he also said that he was not good. Now, there might be more to that as far as, that's just Jesus in his physical body. Whereas when he's in heaven, he's good. But it'll be what it'll be. I mean, if he is in fact the person of God, zero difference, then that's what it is. What, do you have a problem with somebody not saying verbatim what you say? I don't have a problem with you not saying something verbatim that I say, but don't kill me for not saying what you say. And don't tell me that's just the way it is or it's politics. Because I stopped worrying about politics for many years until I came back in, because God said that's enough. They're not going to stop no matter what you do. In fact, the closer you get to where they say you should be, the more they're going to psychologically operate and drug you. They surreptitiously drug people. It's happening today. The FBI doesn't want to know about it. They want to be willfully ignorant of it. They love it. They enjoy it. They consider that power. Gives them sexual pleasure. They can pervert other people for free using narcotics, psychological operation, and other things, and then say, oh, they're the pervert, they're the radical, they're the murderer, when in fact it's them. Which means they are the root of those thoughts. They are that evil that is the root of those thoughts in our nation, because they project that out to make themselves look pure. Again, Munchausen by proxy FBI. Munchausen by proxy law enforcement. Now, always remember this one, because I remember this one. Don't think that because I tell you this that I'm preaching to you without being part of what you're part of. Isaiah 55:9, King James Version. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. So I always know, and I've always said this to you, even before I knew of this scripture as intimately as I do, that I'm not God. I can't think like God. I can't even think my thoughts. If I have a good thought, it's God. It's just the way it is. If I have a bad thought, it's Satan. But what is in there? Well, the original self was created in the image of God, so that's all the goodness. The rest should not exist. Isaiah 55:9, King James Version. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Always remember that. All right, somebody's on the phone here. I usually don't get phone calls. I wonder who it is. All right, let me take a break here for a second, and I'll be back.
You are listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry, presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.